How's everybody's week going?
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
Yeah.
No sleep.
It's always a Monday. Right, no sleep.
No sleep.
Okay. We're all on the same page.
How's the IMSAT?
Okay.
IMSAT.
We're not going to talk about that here. We talk about good things. Good
Yeah,
vibes.
see,
Good vibes.
Once I agree with Tyler. But hey, can someone read out the mission statement on your agenda? Anyone?
Someone different, please.
I'll do it.
Tyler, please.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
All right, and with that, come on in, have a seat. With that, we will have Tyler, our president, to the stage to keep us going.
All right, I see we have a couple new faces in the crowd, but I will not be the one explaining today because I'm not the Toastmaster today, which is the one who's running the meeting. This is the individual who will be in charge of what happens during the meeting, so if the meeting goes well, it'll be his fault, but if the meeting didn't go well, it's also his fault. I'm putting pressure on him. All right, so without further ado, the Toastmaster today, Manu Pippel.
Thank you so much for those motivational and encouraging words to start off on this meeting. Just to introduce myself, I first joined this organization in August of 2016 after Tyler consistently and almost every single day nagged me to join this club. And overall, in the end, it's been a great decision. Today, I am the Toastmaster for this meeting, and as Tyler said, the main responsibility is ensuring that this meeting is organized, everyone is here for the roles that they're supposed to do, and now the typical meeting has 3 sections. First is prepared speeches. These individuals, typically 3 to 4, will essentially prepare a speech ahead of time for around 5 to 7 minutes and present that in front of this body. The second section of this meeting is table topics, and my personal favorite. Essentially, for this part of the meeting, you will be asked a question, and you won't know who will get picked until the table topics master picks that individual. So it's essentially on-the-spot speaking, helping for interview skills, class presentations, and discussions. The third and most important section of the meeting, evaluations. Essentially, there will be 3 evaluators or 4 evaluators who will evaluate the prepared speakers and understand what are the pros and cons that need to be done for that particular speaker to improve for the next meeting. Now, let us begin with our first section of the meeting, prepared speakers. Our first speaker today will be completing his 10th and last speech from the Competent Communicator Manual. This speech requires 3 objectives. First, does this individual inspire the audience? Second, does this individual, through the usage of quotes, stories, and anecdotes, add drama to that speech? And third, does he use notes? Typically, by the end of the Competent Communicator Manual, a speaker typically does not use notes. So let us introduce, for our first speech of the night, Tyler Burnette for his speech, Motivation Upload.
Wow, let's go. Come on, no, keep it going, 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 keep it going. All right, I want everybody to stand up, look to your left and right, and tell the other person, you're awesome, man.
You're awesome, man.
You're awesome, man.
All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Doesn't it feel great to just have somebody all hyped up, a whole bunch of energy, ready to get out and go get it? Have you ever done a workout and you're like, man, I really wish this person was here. This person is always just up and at it, doesn't matter, till his arms fall off. He just goes and gets it, and that energy brings it into the workout area, and you all just kill it. Motivation is very important, okay? And I want to motivate you guys today and get you guys to see why each and every one of you are extremely special. So we'll start with reproduction. I hope everybody has had their parent chaperone waivers filled. No? Oh, well, that's just too great to go. Alright, so in reproduction, I'm an animal science major here, 3rd year, and I took physical reproduction last semester. And I want to go into genetics. And life is incredibly intricate and like it's special. It's crazy. Like when you really get into your biology classes, if you're a biology major or any kind of science major, you really see how crazy it is that we are here. So to give you an example, I'm going to teach you guys today about how you came here through your dad. So when you start out with the simplest form, you're called spermatogonia, okay? And you're basically just a bunch of little cells inside like a balloon bath that's coming to the surface. And so this is in order for you to just be here, okay? One little tiny spermatogonia has to jump out of that back, okay, into the big tub of things. I'm not going to get in a tub because they get a little gross. And not only that, and while he's in the big tub of things, you know, say dad has his silk boxers on, you know, trying to impress mama. Those silk boxers are not good for, you know, spermatogonia production. They're just not. So, you know, you're lucky dad wasn't wearing the silk boxers, you know, when you were created. You know, so him and mama, they go off and, you know, they do their thing. Well, when you first meet your mom, she's trying to kill you. She really is. Yeah, that's Pac-Man, right? That's deep things. Okay? Well, there are cells in your mother's body that will actually try to eat you before you make it to the egg. Yeah, crazy. And not only that, I mean, this is why we've had trouble with women from day one. I mean, seriously. After that, after we have to dodge these guys, we got to go through these pathways, okay? And we have to go through these pathways, because if we don't go through these pathways, we die out. So after we make it through the huge maze and prove ourselves before we're even born, we have to stay in the uterus for a certain amount of time. If we do not stay in that time, there are certain processes that don't happen. There's a lot of boys, they die here. This is the beach, this is North Beach, guys. Right here. Okay? And after that, you have to beat out all the other guys who went through all these steps and cross the finish line. This is all before cell replication, mitosis, meiosis, all that fun stuff you learned in biology in 8th grade or whenever it was if you're not a biology major. All that, and you're here. And on top of that, in mom's side of things can go wrong. Birth defects. And you've been in this environment called Earth for 20 years. That is amazing. You are all special. Yes, including you, Enrique. Especially you. Oh. Whoa. And so, you know, my thing is that life is precious, man. Like after reading and studying and just seeing in life experiences, like it really is pretty awesome that we're here. And so this is my give back to you guys, because I was raised that whenever you enter a place, whether it be a school, a church, a function, an organization, you try to make it better before you leave. A place should be better because you were there. As Will Smith. So, I live by many rules, but here's 3 of them. First is mindfulness. Okay, some of you who've known me for a while, they knew about my rodeo accident. But some of you guys are new. I see some new faces. I used to ride bulls. I rode bulls for 4 years. And I had a really bad rodeo accident that nearly killed me. And ever since then, my perception on life has changed drastically. Okay? And I like to practice what's called mindfulness every day. Being in the present moment. You know, being thankful for what you have. Because there's a lot of people, I've seen it. You know, I've done a lot of volunteer work when I was in middle school and in high school and here in college. And I have seen like the most destitute people living in shacks, on dirt floors, don't have TVs, anything, no cars, and it's sad. And, you know, I try to think about that, not as looking down on them, but to remind myself how incredibly lucky I am. Not only the fact that I went through all this, man. You know, I went through 4 years of rodeo. Right? You know, I went through all of that, and I'm still here. God, I mean, I'm happy every day my feet hit the floor. So, mindfulness. 2, give it 100%. 100% all day, every day. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're doing a speech, if you're VPE of Toastmasters, which is my position here, or you're sweeping the floors, it doesn't matter. You give it 100%. Because it matters. Because each second matters. This is your life. Each one of those matters to me. You're going to take home what you're going to take home from this. But this is what matters to me. And thirdly, never allow no to rule your life. Ever. I was born with really, really, really bad asthma. So much so, like, it deformed my chest. The bones in my chest are not formed correctly. And they told me, you'll never run. Look at you, man. You got that little thing on your chest. You know? And so I'm here to tell you, you can go and do. Never let no rule your life. Because I went and did cross country, and not but last year I was running a 425 mile time indoors. You know, I can't run. Please don't let ever in your life let anybody tell you that you can't do something, man. You know why? Each one of you are special. Guys, okay. I know it's been a little bit heavy here, a little bit light here and there. This is your lifespan. You got this much to live, man. You know, do what you want to do. If you want to, I don't know, go to Outback Steakhouse and fill in the coloring books till the day you die. I don't care. You know, but do what you want to do. Live your life, man. Go skydiving, go bungee jumping, do what you're afraid to do. Ask that girl out in your economics class that, you know she's been looking at you, but you just don't do anything because you're too chicken. Go and do. Okay? Now, before I go, I'm actually going to hand out these supplemental materials because I firmly believe that and if you could just pass them around, throw them all around. Because I firmly believe motivation should be every day. I'm not saying, you got to get all pumped up and jacked up, like you just took 5 testosterone pills and C4 at the same time. But it's like showering, in a way. You can shower once and you get dirty, right? Motivation once and then you just drift off. Do it every day. You continue the streak. And I'm just here to help you guys out. Maybe give you a different perspective on life. Thank you.
Great job. You certainly inspired me while also rekindling with years of overall conversation. Now, I'd like to give you all at least 1 minute to fill out the top slip for the first speaker on your ballots. If you don't have one, please raise your hand. Essentially, we're going to list out the pros and cons for Tyler's speech. Again, pay attention to the objectives. Did he inspire the audience? Did he use quotes, anecdotes, and stories to add drama? And whether or not he used physical notes, which he did not. I would also like to introduce our 3 reports for this meeting. First is our grammarian, Enrique Rojas. Grammarian Jazz Anderson. Would you like to tell us a word of the day and what's the significance?
Okay. The word of the day is irrevocable, and it means not able to be changed, reversed, or recovered, so it's like final. And so, if you say it, snaps and claps.
Perfect. Yep. Additionally, she will also examine run-on sentences, incorrect subject-verb agreement, and other grammatical errors. So make sure you have your grammar correct. Second is our timer, Mike Boo. Would you like to explain your role?
So I time all the speeches, including the table topics and evaluations. So for table topics, you need to speak at least for 1 minute. We have this thing called a 30-second grace period. So if you speak within 30 seconds of the time, so in this case, for table topics, 1 minute, then you're still fine. But you try to aim for that time period.
Right. And essentially, he has a timer card where he will lift it up to indicate that you're in time if it is green, not red. And then if you're in between the minimum and maximum time, it will be yellow. And if you're over time, he will have red displayed. So again, pay attention to Mike and the colors that he displays. Again, if it is at red, you can continue speaking, but for a maximum of 30 more seconds. And lastly, our counter, Enrique Borjas.
Okay, so like my main purpose here is just to watch out for your ums, ahs, filler words like that. Just to remind you that we try to cut down on those. Keep your speeches articulate and concise.
Perfect, great job. Now, if you're done filling out your feedback slips, please hand them into the middle, and Ikra will pick them up. Around 15, 20 more seconds before we go on to our next speaker. Our second speaker for today will be completing his third speech from the Confident Communicator Manual. The main objectives for this speech is whether or not he is organized or has a clear organized beginning, middle, and end, and whether he can reinforce his main point or main organizational style within that speech. I would like to now introduce to our stage for 5 to 7 minutes for a speech, Ego, Imran Durrani.
Every now and then, I find myself like walking down the street downtown Athens, and this homeless guy comes. They put their hands out and they ask you for money. And I feel kind of ashamed to say this, but sometimes I look at these people with like a little bit of, like disgust. And I'm thinking like, why do you think that you earned my money? This is my money. I have it. I get to use it the way I want to. But if I'm lucky and I catch myself, then I say, okay, well, why do I earn this money? My dad made this money. He's the one sending me into college. He's the one who paid my tuition. He's the one who got me through middle school, moved me into this country so I can even afford to, live and to get jobs to make money. So why is it that the same principle of charity that I got from my father doesn't apply here? Yeah, you could say it's a little different. Of course, maybe there's some incentive there for my father to pay me. So that way maybe I'll take care of him when he gets older. But, he has 10 kids, so I don't think that's really a big deal. So I think the big pusher here is the ego. I think egotistically I'm thinking, somehow this money is all because I'm so awesome. And ego is just something that we all have. It's a terrible thing for the world, and we need to do something about it, and I'll tell you why. So there was a study in the University of London, and they took all their students, these 2 psychologists, and they gave them this sheet, and it had all these statements. And then you say whether you follow that statement, less than the average amount, or maybe you follow it above average. So they have statements like, I lie, I'm honest, I'm friendly, I'm open-minded, I'm a cheater, things like that. And the eventual study found that almost everybody put themselves morally as above average. You see the contradiction, right? So if you don't understand what average means, right? There's people who are bad. It's the bad guys, they're down there, and then there's this giant bubble, 80% of everybody else, who's average, and then there's few people on top. And yet everybody thinks that there are those few people on top, which makes no sense, does it? Not to be egotistical, but I can confidently say, I've been to a lot of different places in the world, and there's very few extraordinary people in the world. Very few. And, this is kind of going totally against what Tyler just said. But really, there's only a few extraordinary people, and, I know I'm not one of them, but my ego always wants me to think that I'm one of them. And maybe you don't think that you're that kind of person, but I kind of feel like you would be too. Let's just do a thought experiment. Let's not actually do this because it's going to get really awkward, okay? Let's pretend I asked you to look around everybody in this room and name all 5 or 7 people that for sure you're better than them. Don't do it though. Stop. So some of you start looking around. Yeah, it would get awkward. So you can probably name those guys off really fast. But if I say look around and pick out like 5 or 6 people that are definitely better than you, 100%. It's going to take a little longer. Some of you might not even get to that point. It's not statistically feasible that everybody in here is in the top 20% of this room. But for some reason, we all think we are. So why is it like this? That's a tough question. It could be a lot of reasons. Life isn't hard like it used to be. We don't really see our faults. We don't have to go hunt for food. We don't have to build our homes. We don't have to farm our food. We don't have terrible wars that are ravaging us all the time. So we're never face to face with our weaknesses. And it all leads to the same thing. So when something's bad, sometimes we accept responsibility and we say, yeah, that's my fault. But when something's good, almost every time, we're like, yeah, we take the credit, we say, that was me, I did that. You do good in a soccer game, you say, I don't have coaches, I don't have parents, that was me, I scored that goal, I made that run, I made that pass, that was all me. You're like, yeah, you see this brain? Yeah, I'm a genius, it's not genetics, it's not my parents, it's me, you got it or you don't, sorry you don't, but I do. You say, I'm alive, I'm safe, it's not the police, what do you mean I live in a gated community? No, it's just I'm too quick, I'm too smart, they can't catch me. I sound pretty ridiculous right now, I understand. But that's just what ego is. It's a ridiculous thing. It makes no sense. And it leads to some dangerous things down the line. It could eventually lead to where I could look at somebody, I could say, I'm better than this guy. Because when we were making our characters, I picked the better skill time. Or you can maybe say, I don't like immigrants because, I was smart enough to choose to be born in this country. This is something that has nothing to do with you. But you just don't like the immigrants. You're like, I chose to be born in this country. He was too stupid. He went to live in this, shithole. Like my buddy said. Or maybe you see some poor guy. You say, well, that's just your nature. You're bad. You're poor. I'm rich. Or let's say you're educated. Of course, we're all lucky, and we all have to work hard. But you can just take credit for your situation in life. And that's kind of where it could lead to. And it all comes from these deep irrationalities of the human mind. And these irrationalities lead to your bad ego. And this bad ego leads to almost all the problems that we have in the world. So the best thing to do is not to rely on leaders to come change the world. It's for people to go ahead and just try to fix these little problems in our egos. That's a really tough thing to do. And of course, I'm not saying I've got it figured out. But I am working on it. And I can give you a few things that I'm doing that maybe you could try too. Just call them some pointers on the house. Okay. So first of all, anytime you get the chance, just try to make like a list of things that you're grateful for, or make some list of things that you're lucky to have. And everyone's going to be able to do it. And once you start, it just keeps rolling, and then you'll really see how lucky you are. Of course, you guys are all lucky. You're in this building, you have air conditioning. This is the University of Georgia, so you're at least academically gifted in some way. And yeah, you have to work. You have to study in a time where it made no sense to study. Or you get no rewards for studying, you were a kid, it didn't make any sense. But you did it anyways. But, you got to see that the plants for your success were planted, or the seeds to your success were planted way before you ever really got the chance to do anything to them. And then the second point I would say is to go find some idols. And this is a lot easier because, there's a lot of extraordinary people in the world. We celebrate them a lot. So go find some idols, go read their autobiographies, go learn about them, and then you can really see what it is like to have an extraordinary life. And maybe that'll kind of bump you get down a notch. Unless you are, you read this guy's book and, you're like, that's me. You either have a terrible, terrible ego, or you're actually living an extraordinary life. But most of us, we can't match that. And it'll kind of help you be grounded and be realistic about who you are. Last thing is when you're talking to people, when you're meeting somebody, try to understand them first. We're always really quick to tell people about us, but try to really understand them. Look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, look at their personality, and then maybe you'll eventually get a gauge of what the average person really is. And then you'll say, yeah, maybe I am just an average person. I'll admit it, I'm an average person, everybody. It's tough to say, it hurts, it's a big hit on your ego, but you gotta do it sometimes. That's all I have for you. I felt like I needed to say this because we're all in this big turning point in our life. We're about to go into this giant whirlwind, which is the real world. And you need to have a strong character before you go in. Because it's really tough to develop it once you get in there. Because once you get in there, it's just constant momentum and constant motion. And right now you have a chance to better yourself, so let's all please just try to beat these egos of ours, learn about the world, and just do a little bit better. Thank you.
Great speech, Imran. Now I'd love for you all to, again, do essentially the same thing that you all did for the first speaker. Fill out some pros and cons so Imran can get proper feedback. Again, the objectives for the speech. Did he have a clear beginning, middle, and end within the speech? And whether he was able to reinforce his main points / idea within each beginning, middle, and end sections. Thank you. Around 30 seconds to a minute for this. Whenever you all are done with your feedback, make sure to pass it to the middle.